Did you all see what we just saw? The courtroom not only disrupted the order, but it also disrupted the internet. Camron, as arrogant as ever, practically laughed aloud in court when Jim Jones's own son stunned the entire chamber by saying Jimmy's son just reversed the script. Standing with Chrissy, yes, Chrissy, Mama Jones swore was the end of the entire Dipset lineage. She was the subject of judicial slaps, whispered betrayals, and leaked USB files. What does Camron know that has him smiling like he just witnessed the ending of a soap serial he secretly produced? Why is Jim Jones sitting in startled silence as his bloodline is being discussed? It's like a VH1 reunion gone nuclear. Supports the single woman his family pledged to destroy and, more crucially, what new audio, text, or betrayal is about to surface next because, believe us, this isn't just courtroom mayhem, this is a dynasty collapsing in front of the cameras. Buckle up, because what just transpired inside that courthouse isn't just history, it's reality TV treason. Let's get started. Imagine this, a court stenographer pounding frantically on hardwood flooring, accompanied by the sound of heels rushing down the aisle as though it were a courthouse, but rather a love and hip-hop reunion special. But this wasn't just any court day, sir. Instead, it was the day that Harlem's hip-hop royalty revealed why, as Camron arrived with Jim Jones's son smirked and defended Chrissy as if she had just won the title of queen on prom night. Let's go back in time. As we already know, the courtroom has been the setting for numerous disastrous films since Mama Jones went all WWE and opened up. We witnessed Chrissy pull out that enigmatic USB drive as if it were her last Uno card, while Camron was leaking mixtapes and Mama Jones was hawking merchandise. Fortunately, it was only a slap. Jim Jones' son, let's call him Junior for the time being, was meant to be the neutral party, the next generation heir to Harlem's hip-hop history, the one who would keep out of the mess while the adults tricked it out. But today he entered the courtroom with his head held high and informed the judge that Chrissy had been the only person present the entire time. Camron Cam sat with his arms crossed and smiled without a smile. Let's break this down. Our unnamed source claims that Junior, who was seated 2 rows behind the defense bench, asked to make a voluntary statement during the pre-trial. I knew this was coming, so I brought snacks. Junior stood up, turned to the room, and said, I am not going to keep watching everyone trash the only person who ever had my father's back. The judge, who was already over the circus, nodded reluctantly. Mama Jones reportedly murmured, he's indoctrinated. Chrissy didn't blink, but one reporter dropped her pen and said, gasps. Loud gasps, simply cocked her head as if she anticipated this as well. Remember, this is the same courtroom where Camron's leaked tapes accused Chrissy of being a double agent supplying information from within the family, and the same courtroom where we believed Chrissy was trapped. Jones almost threw hands. Why would Jim's own son support Chrissy? Let's get into the specifics. Insiders claim that Junior and Chrissy had been covertly speaking for weeks before the trial. Junior cautioned Chrissy that it wasn't about reconciliation or PR harm, but rather about protection, according to a leaked message purportedly taken from a throwaway WhatsApp discussion. That's proof of internal betrayal, the kind that turns a family disagreement into a full-fledged civil war. And if that wasn't messy enough, more courtroom filings were filed just days ago. Mama is going to try to bury you with falsehoods. Junior knew the tapes were going to be made public, so he asked to see what was on Chrissy's USB drive before the hearing disclosed that he had done so not to defend her but to confirm what was on it. He needed to know which side of the explosion he wanted to be on after shaking Harlem, and it turned out that Chrissy had receipts. The USB allegedly contains voice notes from Mama Jones talking about phony real estate enterprises using Jim's name and camera video of her delivering envelopes filled with cash to well-known Dipset associates and warning Chrissy to bring proof. In text messages that imply Camron knew the slap was coming, yes, you read correctly, there is now conjecture in order to expose Mama Jones for running Jim's enterprise like some deranged matriarch in a hip-hop version of Game of Thrones. Camron and Chrissy were comrades and silent participants in a lengthy scam. Junior is ultimately picking sides. Junior also stated in his legal testimony that he heard his grandmother, Mama Jones, conspiring with a VH1 producer to change the narrative and portray Chrissy as unstable. The judge reportedly shocked the audience into silence, with the exception of Camron, who sarcastically exclaimed, "Wow, crazy world, huh?" They had plans to release modified film, restore Mama's reputation, and make Chrissy a villain. Bafe smiled. Now, let's discuss reactions as the internet did what it always does and hashtag Team Chrissy began trending once more. Twitter users shared videos of Junior and Chrissy from previous Love and Hip Hop episodes. Memes swarmed Instagram with claims that he always treated her like a second mother. One particularly popular video featured Camron nodding in court while adding the phrase, "when you knew the tapes were heat," and bringing popcorn rather than a lawyer. Not everyone laughed. A former Dipset manager and well-known Mama Jones admirer called Junior a traitor to the throne in a now-deleted Facebook tirade, accusing Chrissy of controlling a youngster who still doesn't. This is where things get even messier. After the court receded for lunch, Junior was seen leaving. You know what true loyalty looks like? That rant screenshot was published because supporters are split and the Warlands are becoming more pronounced. With Chrissy by his side, one camera captured her whispering something to him. Fans are still attempting to lip-react it as if it were the Zapruder movie. "I think you performed well in the interim," Mama Jones allegedly yelled into her phone as she walked out the back door. "Tell them it's fake." Even TMZ was unable to keep up, and a representative for Jim Jones eventually issued a cryptic "Jimmy's focus is on peace, not petty. He loves his family and wants the drama to stay off the record," he told the media. Translation: Jimmy is trembling in his Timberlands because his son is supporting Chrissy Camron up in court. Mama Jones is losing control of the Dipset narrative. And this family business is collapsing from the inside out. Chrissy is no longer crying. Instead, she is methodically and stealthily winning. But hold on, we're not even close to the conclusion because, as the judge summoned the court back into session, a fresh file, one that Chrissy had forgotten to bring and one that wasn't on the USB, was introduced as evidence. Our sources claim that it was directly from Camron's legal team. Just when you thought things couldn't be much more tense, Jim Jones leaned forward, met the judge's eyes, and uttered the one statement that made the stenographer even stop typing for a while when one of the bailiffs coughed as if he had choked on his own spit. It was the kind of moment that transforms a courtroom into a human pressure cooker. In just a few seconds, Mama Jones' TikTok became viral. You could almost see the steam coming from her wig. She genuinely gripped her pearls and said something so vile that the woman next to her actually moved seats. Now let us pause, because if you've been watching this Harlem soap opera since the beginning, you are aware that Jim's son has never publicly expressed an opinion. Instead, he has remained neutral and out of the spotlight whenever family conflict has arisen at headlines. However, he is now in the spotlight in a courtroom, defending the very lady his grandmother declared to be a traitor to the family line. Let's examine what transpired. Based on court transcripts that were leaked minutes ago by someone who was obviously uncool, Jim's son not only supported Chrissy but also accused Mama Jones of planning a smear campaign, saying Chrissy was attempting to shield Jim from litigation and from people that would cause him to lose his money. Camron sat in the back row, looking like he's in a Clue movie, while the rest of the audience looked towards Mama Jones as he funneled money through fictitious LLCs. He didn't name names, but he didn't have to. Snickering from a box seat at a Broadway play, the man produced a bag of peanut M&Ms, put one in his mouth, and said the most annoying thing anyone has ever heard in a courtroom, "Well damn." Let us remember that this whole courtroom drama was brought on by Cam's leaked tapes, and now he's watching it play out like a villain in a Tyler Perry finale. Is this vindictive? Certainly, or is it strategically sound? Because soon after Jim's Chrissy Sis arrived ready like Olivia Pope with receipts, and when the judge asked her to elaborate, she stood coolly and collectedly and stated, "I've kept my mouth shut." The son delivered his statement, and guess who pushed a manila envelope across the defense table, closed for years, to keep this family safe. But let's be clear, since the court doesn't seem to understand who is betraying whom. And suddenly, the bank transfers, emails, and receipts appeared, reportedly demonstrating that Mama Jones had established a side company utilizing Jim's name, brand, and likeness without getting his permission. The worst part is that it was all connected to a New Jersey warehouse that had already garnered media attention during a 2019 slump. The raid recall the tale of unregistered real estate projects and ghost contracts? Yes, the same building. But hold on, things get sticky. Chrissy brought more than just paperwork, she also provided an audio tape. If you thought that the audio that was played over the courtroom speaker like a mixtape premiere purportedly recorded a phone conversation between Mama Jones and a well-known Harlem fixer in the courtroom, which was dramatic before you were prepared for what happened next. If Chrissy continues to dig, bury her and make it public, a speaker in the video said. Listen now. The room acted as though the voice was that of Mama Jones, but we're not sure. The judge announced a 10-minute break. And Camron got up, gave a single clap and muttered, "Plot twist." People gasped so hard that you thought Beyoncé had just walked in. One woman fell. Detectives started comparing the leaked audio to old reality show tapes as #ChryssyAnswered began trending on Twitter and TikTok, and one genius used waveform to do a thorough breakdown. In the meantime, social media was already melting. Conclusion of the analysis: yes, that is Mama Jones. The same energy, breathing pattern, and accent. And where was Jim Jones during all of this? He was still a ghost, with no outward sign or declaration. Pray for the Truth is written with a candle burning in a single Instagram story. Back in court, Mama Jones' attorney asked that the audio be excluded because it was unconfirmed. Cryptic. Moody, pointless origins, but the prosecution wouldn't have it. They insisted on looking into what was on Chrissy's USB drive, and the judge granted their request. A thorough forensic review was then ordered. This is where things get really heated outside. The supporters of Chrissy started congregating before the courthouse, holding homemade placards, t-shirts featuring her face, and even bespoke foam fingers that read, #one daughter-in-law you can't make this up. Mama Jones loyalists, older and louder, were armed with police, had to erect barricades while the two sides clashed like it was the versus battle of the decade, complete with folding chairs and laminated brochures on family betrayal. Somewhere in the midst of the chaos, Camron's old disc track was played. Harlem was illuminated by a loud hailer, and the drama had only just started inside the courthouse when Jim's son continued to speak and produced a handwritten letter purportedly from Jim Jones himself, dated 2 weeks prior to the original. "I don't know who to trust anymore," he said in the letter he read aloud, adding, "Chrissy might be my only anchor in this mess. Tell my mother to quit posing as they in charge of everything." Mama Jones began to fidget with her rings as if she were about to hurl them, and Chrissy simply leaned back in her chair as her legal team talked quickly. The court finally had enough and said that because of the tremendous public attention, possible criminal consequences, and social media upheaval, Camron was now munching gummy worms with his arms crossed and his arms calm as a cucumber marinated in retaliation. Cameras were prohibited, cell phones were seized, and even the court sketch artist was expelled, but it was too late. The world already knew the narrative, and within hours the complete transcript was following the leak of Jim's son's declaration. Bootleg audio of the courtroom tape was posted on Telegram, YouTube, and whatever dubious Discord server the internet could locate. Reaction videos were flooding in, and hashtags were all over the place. By nightfall, Camron posted a picture on Instagram with a black backdrop and white lettering that said, "I told y'all, loyalty over legacy." There was no comment or tags, just vibes and turmoil. Chrissy and Team Mama Jones memes were trending more quickly than Nicki and Cardi subs on Twitter. "I kept the files, I kept the silence, but I won't keep taking the blame," Chrissy said, as she went live for precisely 24 seconds without wearing any makeup or filters. Then she logged out at the same time that someone posing as a former Dipset tour manager started publishing what they called the Chrissy Chronicles, a series of accusations regarding financial mismanagement, fabricated conflicts, and hush people are consuming the money from 2013 like hot wings during a hurricane, regardless of whether it is real or not. The question that everyone is asking right now is whether Jim's son is supporting Chrissy, and Jim's own statements indicate that he doesn't trust Mama Jones. Then who is truly in charge of the Jones family legacy? With the court now closed, the next shocking revelation must come from outside, because if there's one thing Harlem has taught us, it's that secrets don't stay hidden, especially not when Chrissy was still carrying further files. And guess what? That USB wasn't the only one, since YouTubers were live filming themselves reading court late that same evening while Harlem was still debating in Instagram comments. Documents such as bedtime stories, a second USB, or more accurately, the contents of what is now known as the shadow drive, were revealed by an unknown Twitter account that caused the whole internet to stop scrolling. Even worse, There are secret recordings of private emails between Jim Jones and Mona Scott that indicate VH1 executives were crafting plots to portray Chrissy as insane and brace yourself as having a contract where Mama, yes, you read correctly, Mama Jones, was involved in a covert effort to banish Chrissy from every future love and hip in exchange for earning a consulting producer credit, hot project, and it didn't end there. Emails threatened to ban her from brand deals, exclude her from merchandise lines connected to Dipset, and even undermine her real estate interests. This wasn't merely a disagreement, it was a complete and utter destruction of a woman's career. And to make matters worse, the receipts were too good to ignore. Fans were immediately comparing font types, information, and timestamps as if they were CSI TikTok lawyers in a courtroom. Camron continued to giggle while they were piecing together the documents and dissecting them frame by frame. One girl even shared a PowerPoint presentation called The Fall of the Jones Dynasty, Betrayal in 3 Acts that shared another video from Dubai, this time sipping orange juice while floating in an infinite pool and declaring, "Some of you truly believed that Chrissy was the bad guy. You all should apologize to her." Meanwhile, VH1 was in complete panic mode. Emergency meetings were apparently being organized to discuss damage management, according to internal sources. A Candace letter was sent to Twitter, but it was too late. The data had already been downloaded, copied, and inserted in 50 private threads. Group chats and YouTube videos with titles like, "Chrissy's Revenge, Mama Jones Exposed, but let's get back to Chrissy since sis was already planning her next move" at precisely the same time that the internet was debating which side to support. 8:30 a.m. There's always been a difference between silence and allegiance. The following morning, a verified Instagram account with the hashtag @ChrissyOfficialPR posted a message that left Jaws speechless. Opted for silence in the hopes that the truth would speak for itself, but now you can clearly hear it. I've included a 3-minute audio message purportedly from Jim Jones himself, in which a man's voice sounds uncannily similar to Jim venting to someone not named Tone about how his mother pulled the entire gang against Chrissy, how Kim felt like he was losing control of the Dipset heritage to a group of irate old heads with their own agendas, and how Kim knew more than he should have. Fans were already analyzing every breath as if it were a Grammy performance, despite the fact that the audio wasn't particularly clear. According to one TikToker, you could hear Mona's voice stating, "We need fresh blood." In the background, the public believed Chrissy's narrative, regardless of whether it was true or not, and that belief completely altered the atmosphere overnight. Since the same people who claimed that Chrissy had broken free from the bonds of dubious contracts, familial manipulation, and character assassination. They even dubbed her the Harlem Harriet Tubman of reality TV after dragging her 2 weeks ago. That tweeted, "IB, however, despite days of vague Facebook posts and trivialities, if Chrissy persevered and presented receipts, she deserves her own show." So let's speak about Fallout Mama Jones. Subtweets remained completely silent, not even a selfie, wig review, or reposted meme, and people realized that she was either hiding or going to make a big announcement. Then came the hospital records leak, which was, yes, a document. Appeared purportedly demonstrating that, within days of the courtroom slap, Mama Jones had been admitted to a private Manhattan institution for hypertensive stress trauma. While some admirers expressed sorrow, others didn't hold back. One tweet went viral, said, "In a surprise clubhouse room that maxed out in 3 minutes, funny how she was strong enough to slap Chrissy, but too fragile when the receipts hit. Brutal, but Jim's son, he doubled down. Fans have been holding my dad down while people around him say things like, 'You only saw half the story. I was raised to protect family, but family got to protect you too.'" Since this wasn't simply one kid supporting a stepmother, but rather a generational shift in devotion and a rejection of manipulation, the crowd fell silent as he ate off his name like locusts. Jim Jones was the one who eventually broke the silence at the Breakfast Club of all, proving that sometimes the truth comes from the guy everyone tried to silence. Positions Charlemagne's opposite. Jim said, appearing worn out yet calm, "I will always love my mother, but something that shouldn't have happened occurred. Some things were revealed, and I'm not yet prepared to discuss, but Chrissy, it wasn't much, and they didn't deserve it. But it was sufficient to change the public's perception. Dare we say that opinion calms the storm, prepared the ground for reconstruction, but reconstructing the legacy of the Dipset family."